North Korea has put its rockets on standby to attack U.S. military bases in South Korea and the Pacific. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un issued the order at an overnight emergency meeting with top army commanders. State media quoted Mr. Kim saying the time has come to settle accounts with the U.S. imperialists. Thousands of soldiers and students have marched at the main square in Pyongyang to support their leader's call to arms. They've chanted death to the U.S. imperialists and sweep away the U.S. aggressors. South Korean media are already reporting increased movement of vehicles and troops at the North's mid- and long-range missile units. Our Korea Bureau Chief Lim Yoon-suk tells us more about North Korea's missile capabilities.
Right now, experts believe that North Korea does not have the capability, the missile capabilities, that can reach the United States or even Hawaii. But its medium and long-range missiles are capable of targeting Japan and here in South Korea. But, experts are saying that targeting the U.S. bases in Japan and South Korea is really like targeting the U.S. itself. And so if North Korea attacked any of the U.S. bases, then it should be ready to face the United States and not just Japan and South Korea.
And just yesterday, the U.S. defied threats from Pyongyang and flew 2 nuclear-capable bombers over the Korean peninsula. It's the first time the B-2 stealth bombers were used in joint drills with Seoul. The U.S. says the aircraft flew 10,000 kilometers from a base in Missouri, demonstrating its ability to conduct long-range strikes quickly and at will. But the North says Washington's provocation has gone beyond the phase of threat and blackmail. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel denies that Washington was acting provocatively. Instead, he blamed North Korea for raising tensions with its nuclear test in February and its subsequent threats in the face of global condemnation.
No, I don't think we're doing anything extraordinary or provocative or out of the out of the orbit of what nations do to protect their own interests.
Professor John McKay from Analyst International tells us what North Korea may be trying to achieve.
I think the first thing he's trying to achieve is to shore up his own power base, particularly with the North Korean military. There are some fairly hardline people in the North Korean military, and the last thing that Kim Jong-un wants to do is to appear weak or hesitant. And so he's really, to some extent, pandering to the military to try to gain their support. He has been in power for 16 months, but that's a relatively short period. He's relatively young and inexperienced, and I think he has to try and make sure that the generals are on side. And looking after the military and making these kinds of noises is guaranteed to build some support with the military. I think the question always with North Korea is that they are trying to put themselves into a good position should there be some bargaining. There always has been in the past. We go through these periods of crisis and then we have some kind of meeting. And the North Koreans, I think, are trying to push up their stakes to try to make sure they're in as strong a position as possible when talks do take place, as they probably will. Who knows when.
We've learned that the North Korean state TV has announced that the North Korea's leader has signed off on a plan to put his rockets on standby for firing at U.S. targets, both in the Pacific and right here in the U.S. mainland. Well, forget about the mainland. North Korea can't reach here, but there are tens of thousands of American troops in places like Japan, Korea, and Guam that are well within reach of North Korean rockets and artillery. This is just the latest escalating move in sort of a tit-for-tat measure between the North Koreans, South Korea, and the U.S., and it seems like no one is willing to back down. Pentagon officials were in no mood to back down hours after flying a stealth bomber over the Korean peninsula.
We will unequivocally defend, and we are unequivocally committed to that alliance with South Korea.
The bombers can carry up to 20 tons of conventional and nuclear ordnance. On Thursday, 2 B-2s took off from an Air Force base in Missouri. They flew 6,600 miles to a training exercise and dropped inactive payload on a South Korean island.
Why do you think it's wise for the U.S. to respond and poke back
at some of these North Korean provocations?
Well, I don't think we're poking back or responding. The North Koreans have to understand that what they're doing is very dangerous.
But even the defense secretary admitted the U.S. is not sure how its actions are being interpreted in North Korea.
There is uncertainty in that government and in their leadership and intentions.
Pyongyang recently released intimidating new photos of its army and artillery. These are real enough, but North Korea is known to exaggerate its abilities. This shot of a beach landing exercise appears to be photoshopped. Some of the hovercraft look exactly alike. But there is genuine concern over a new missile North Korea unveiled at a parade last year.
That road mobile missile would have the capacity to reach the United States. That's a different type of missile from the one that was tested back in December. And because it's road mobile, I think that it has raised concerns.
Raised concerns, but yet North Korea has never tested that missile, so there's no proof and really no clear idea of exactly where they are in the development process. No one thinks that that missile is ready to go, but it is something to keep its eye on over the next several years.
Thousands of North Koreans have turned out for a mass rally in Pyongyang in support of their leader's call to arms. Soldiers and students chanted death to the US imperialists and sweep away the US aggressors. North Korea is said to have put missile units on standby to attack American bases in South Korea and the Pacific. The order from leader Kim Jong-un came after the US flew 2 stealth bombers over the Korean peninsula. America said the practice runs were designed to show its ability to conduct long-range precision strikes quickly and at will. Seoul, which has been carrying out routine military drills with America, says it's closely monitoring movements in North Korea. Pyongyang is angry about a hike in sanctions imposed after it carried out a 3rd nuclear test.
Every provocative, bellicose word and action that this new young leader has taken so far since he's come to power.
One sign this could all be North Korean bluster? The North has kept open a key industrial park where hundreds of South Koreans do business every day and where global trade produces roughly $2 billion for the isolated nuclear power. White House officials tell us they've dramatically stepped up communication with the South Korean government as well as the new governments in Japan and China. Scott, the administration is looking for allies throughout the region to impress upon North Korea it is playing a very perilous game.